Records Company says it provides the most effortless and secure record retrieval and litigation support services for businesses nationwide. And Grady Marin is the founder, and also Kevin Silva, the operations manager. So welcome. And Grady, among all the industries, why did you decide to enter the record retrieval industry?
I didn't want to just be a part of the industry. I wanted to fix the industry. I saw that there was a mass gap in efficiency. I saw that law firms were frustrated, businesses were frustrated, organizations were frustrated in the sense that they weren't getting the data and the information that they needed in a timely manner. And it was causing an exuberant amount of money. And that gap I wanted to fill. So I entered the space that I could fix the space.
And what's your leadership style like?
I would say it was more militant at first because I was in the trenches. I was there, I was doing everything, I was fulfilling every role that was necessary for a business. I would say over the years, I've had to adopt and I've had to pivot because as you grow and things change, you have to begin to trust and you have to give latitude so that people can make decisions that you've trained them and trusted them to make. So that's the key to business.
And technology changes rapidly, of course. What role does your leadership play in making sure that the company is keeping up with all the paces of technology?
You know, technology does increase rapidly. Unfortunately, in our space, it's very antiquated. Things move a lot slower than they should. But what we've done to stay ahead of the curve is we've invested a lot in resources for artificial intelligence, for automating systems and processes. And that's how we kind of stay ahead of the curve. It's always making sure that we're kind of dissecting things as we go along, learning and trying to stay ahead of everyone else.
Kevin, what makes the records company effective?
I would say our human capital. We have cross-trained employees. We have nurses, we have MDs, we have attorneys, we have paralegals, people who have done the work of the people that we actually service. So they have the experience, they know their frustrations, they know how to navigate this very complex healthcare system.
Grady is an entrepreneur and leader. How do you handle setbacks and challenges?
I think that if I'm being honest, I've had a lot more losses than I've had wins. And I think every time that I lost, I had to take a good hard look at how I lost. And I had to say, how did I lose? What did I learn? What's next? Because if you look back through time, you'll see the great of the greats that have made the most significant losses. And they then turn the wheel. You have to really focus on your losses because that's what teaches you to do things better. And you hire smarter people. I hire smarter people than me, and they help me grow and learn. So that's sort of, in a nutshell, how things have to change with business and leadership skills, especially with entrepreneurship.
And can you share a moment when you faced a challenge and how were you able to overcome it?
Absolutely. Early on, we lost our largest client. And that client was the one that kept the lights on. So, you have to bring everyone into the room and you have to say, hey, look, we're going to build better, build smarter. We're going to stay resilient. And we're just going to plow through. And 6 months later, we had more clients than we've ever been able to have.
And when situations need decision making, how do you make sure you make the right choice?
I like to look at things a little bit more analytically. I say that businesses and leaders, they commit immortal sins when they don't take a look at the peripheral, when they don't listen to other people. So for me, throughout time, I've had to listen more and learn to follow my gut and my instinct in the sense that you have to listen to people. People are the most important part of a business. So if you're not listening to them, you're staying in a cylinder and you're not going to get much feedback outside of that. So for me, I've had to learn, adapt over time. My leadership skills have changed over time. I'm a little bit more calmer than I once was. I'm not that militant authoritarian that I thought everything had to be a particular way. And I listen more now. And I think that's key for leaders.
And aside from the technology, economic policies have been changing quite a bit lately. How does that affect your leadership and perspective on running a business?
Yeah, policies. Economics is always a pivotal thing in history. You have to learn to, like a great colleague of mine, while she was more of my professor at Harvard Business, Frances Fry, she told you to move fast and fix things. And I think that's the same for economic policies. Things move very quickly, especially during presidential administrations, and you just have to learn to pivot. And when you learn to pivot and you learn to get ahead of the curve, as I mentioned earlier, and learning how different businesses function, then you'll come through, you'll prevail.
Kevin, what's in store for the record retrieval industry?
Well, I would say there's a rising demand for speed and privacy in our industry. So every day we're working to streamline our operations to make it as seamless as possible for our clients. The healthcare system, as I said, is very convoluted, is very different across states. It's not a uniform process in the nation. And we make it one click away for our clients. That's how we make it easy, quick. And also there's, in this industry, there's rising concerns about data privacy. And that's where we are different, because we're committed to never outsourcing out of the U.S. because there has been in the industry data breaches, and that damages the reputation of our clients. So we're committed to never outsource.
Now, what do you believe is the most important lesson about leadership that you have learned and that you will keep for the years to come?
I think you have to have good partnerships. When things get tough, I think it's good to have a sounding board. It's good to talk to people when things get hectic, when you're under the most stress, when there's decisions that you have to make. For me, it's important that I make decisions that I can sleep with, that it meets our values. It's good to find good financial partners, such as Ruby Capital Group that I've worked with for years, where I can, ask them financial advice, and I can go where I can get the information that I need to get to make the financial decisions for a corporation. And there's so many people in our industry and in my business that I ask questions, hard questions to, that are outside of my spectrum.
I would say my biggest lesson for leadership is that you cannot expect everything from one person. A good leader recognizes the strengths and weaknesses of his teammates and allocates resources to the right fit.